So what's up, guys? My name is Cesar Escajeda, and I'm one of the tutors for the Gear Up program, and I'm over at Indian Ridge Middle School. I appreciate you guys checking out this video today, and just a little background on me. I'm a biology major over at the University of Texas at El Paso. My goal is to one day use my degree to teach. That's my passion, and along the way I'd like to do research specifically on wolves. For me, I find them really super interesting. Animals are always an interesting topic, and it's something I've always enjoyed learning about and experiencing, so I feel like it all fits for me perfectly. Aside from that, I was born and raised here in El Paso, and I graduated from Silva Health Magnet High School. And for those of you who don't know, it's a medically oriented program where they teach high school students about medical professions. And that kind of gives me a little bit of a background for what I'm going to talk about today in this video. So the profession I am going to cover would be that of the emergency medical technicians, or EMTs for short. So today I'm going to go a little bit in depth on the career as a prospective option for you all watching this video, in case any of you have an interest in the job as a whole or in the medical field. It's definitely one of the most sought after positions by employers today. It's really needed in most communities, and the job is projected to boom over the next 10 years, which is why it is such an important topic for you all. So here we go. So emergency medical technicians are what are known as pre-hospital medical providers. Most of you might have seen them driving around town or may have had experience with them. They respond to all medical emergencies and are typically the first on the scene, whether by ambulance, fire truck, or even through helicopters and sometimes even aircraft. They're specifically trained to be the first responders, which means in emergencies like car accidents, for example, they get there fast, they're well equipped with all types of medical supplies and machinery, and their number one job is ensuring they do what they can to see that their patients survive. They're in charge of stabilizing the patient or patients in order to keep them alive, healthy, and ready for transportation to a medical facility, like a county hospital, for example. It's an extremely important job in any town or city, and as such, there's a huge need for qualified individuals to take the career on. The job itself sounds extremely exciting. You're saving lives, and you're the first on the scene, and you're highly trained. One of the biggest requirements for any job, but especially critical for EMTs. Like any great career, there's school involved, and with EMTs, there's different levels that you can earn on the job. The starting level is classified as EMT Basic, or simply EMT. This job, as it's been called, is your basic entry-level certification needed. These men and women are trained in cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR for short, wound care and bleed management, defibrillation, which allows electric stimulation to restart the heart, artificial airway insertion, which is a really interesting procedure if you get a chance to look it up, and administering of certain medications, among other duties. Here in El Paso, this level requires certification and takes about a year of schooling, a little bit more, which is offered at many institutions, El Paso Community College being one of them. The starting salary here in El Paso is about $25,000, which again, the more schooling you have, the higher the pay goes, which brings me to the next level. EMT Intermediate, or Advanced EMT specifically, is the next step in training. This level requires an associate's degree to achieve certification, and since it's more education, you have more responsibilities and there is more that you are allowed to do to provide care to these patients. At the intermediate level, these EMTs are allowed to perform all the basic EMT tasks, along with establishing IVs, fluid resuscitation, which requires a lot of rules to apply effectively in emergency situations, and more trust overall regarding the types of medications you can now administer. It is more responsibility for sure at this level, and as such, the pay goes up to start around $30,000 a year, which is a big difference. The highest skill level one can achieve in this career path is that of the EMT paramedic. You are a full-blown medical provider and can now provide complete advanced life support, or ALS for short. This level requires at minimum an associate's degree, but can fluctuate, as some can do accelerated programs, which only takes about a year and a half through all three levels, to all the way to achieve a master's degree, which is about 4 to 6 years. And one must pass the EMT National Certification Board exam to qualify as a paramedic. This level is strenuous and challenging, but extremely rewarding, as you are the main individual on the front lines and you are the most qualified in saving lives when people need you the most. Your scope of practice is expanded greatly at this point, so now you can perform everything the previous levels could, on top of intubation, point-of-care ultrasounds, pericardiocentesis, which involves removing fluids surrounding a patient's heart that could prevent blood flow and could be lethal, transcutaneous pacing, another long and extremely complicated life-saving procedure for you all to look up. As a paramedic, you're now an expert at all of it. Needless to say, it is all very rewarding, especially the pay, which in El Paso can jump up from $40,000 to about $67,000 a year plus incentives, which I'll talk about next. After the paramedic level, there are certain extra qualifications one can achieve, the biggest and baddest being that of the critical care flight paramedics. These are the men and women who are airlifted by helicopter or plane at times to these remote or sometimes dangerous areas to save individuals in emergency locations. For example, here in El Paso, there are tons of hospitals that have high levels of what's known as trauma care. But once you leave the city heading further into Texas or the other way into New Mexico, there really aren't many qualified hospitals left until you reach another major city like Odessa or Albuquerque, which can be problematic given the distance. Say a serious car accident happens on the highway and there is no hospital around for miles and miles. El Paso will send a helicopter carrying these paramedics to you and will airlift you back to El Paso, stabilizing you the entire way so you can get the medical attention you need. At this level, you are trained not only in every critical life-saving procedure necessary for pre-hospital care, but you also receive knowledge in flight mechanics and high-elevation physiology to ensure these patients being flown out are secure and ready to receive care upon arrival. It's definitely an interesting career path and one where you'll be seeing and doing things that a lot of people never will, like flying in a helicopter. If that type of excitement is your thing, then maybe this is the job for you. Now, the reason I chose to present this career is because of two main reasons. The first is that the EMT field is extremely critical here in El Paso and virtually anywhere else you go. It's a very important job and there will always be a need for people to do it, which brings me to my next point. The EMT field at all three levels is expected to expand at almost a rate of 24% by 2028. 24%. That means there will be more jobs available and more of a need for qualified people to apply. This in turn means the pay scale is steadily increasing, and all of this in turn means you will have a highly trained, well-paying job that will always be in need, which is definitely a plus in today's age. It's a great opportunity and there's such a need for it, so it gives that security blanket to anyone willing to go the distance. The process to becoming an EMT can be highly selective. On top of all the technical skills needed, the small size of most graduating classes, and the rigorous physical aspects, there are a lot of rules and regulations one must pass to abide by. On top of this, the qualifying exam is a must and you must pass in order to be able to practice the EMT levels here in the United States. Like any test, it is to ensure you can ace and provide the primary care to the utmost of the ability expected nationally, which at the end of the day saves lives, a lot of lives. It is a tough path indeed, but if you dedicate yourself, you stay committed, and it really is your calling, I guarantee nothing will stop you. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about the career field, exactly what EMTs do, and what it takes to get there. Hopefully some of you find some interest, at least in the EMT profession. If not, to take appreciation for those who are interested and who are out there every day doing some pretty hard work. For those of you that are interested, I really hope that you'll take the time to go a little more in depth into the career field. Maybe some of the procedures I mentioned for you all to look up. Really complicated, but really interesting. And again, they're life-saving procedures, so it's something to take a look at. And ultimately, I say give it a chance. You never know what might be your passion in life. For those of you in middle school, you're still figuring it out, and that's okay. It's nice to take a look at these things, to start thinking, and see where you want to go. If going this route is indeed your choice, it's definitely an excellent route. I ultimately think that it's going to be really fulfilling for you, and obviously it's not a bad way to go. If any of you have any questions, those of you that are watching, the YEAR program is always here for all of you, and the tutors are always here to help, myself included. We're here and we want you all to succeed, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have, okay? So for now, have a great day and good luck.